Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the RCWR Show. Show the ultimate fan support and follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at the RCWR Show. For original merchandise from the mind and hands of yours truly and friends, head over to cafepress.com/RCWR Show. Go to that next wrestling or concert event in style. That's cafepress.com/RCWR Show. And visit InfinityOneProductions.com, the exclusive home for new and exclusive original content, such as our 30 with Lee series, bonus RCWR Show episodes, and much more. InfinityOneProductions.com. That's with an E as in Edward, put in the actual number 1, InfinityOneProductions.com.
Enjoy all episodes of the RCWR Show on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio.
Warning, the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling, entertainment, and beyond. Since 2011, you're listening to the RCWR Show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Man, I tell you what, you talk about some type of a fucked up finish that we got tonight with WWE Survivor Series. I know there are a lot of you guys that watched this event tonight that had to have been just like, Lee, what the fuck did I just watch, man? Tell me I did not just see that. Tell me I did not just see that play out before my very eyes. Of course, I'm talking about that finish, a controversial finish at that, to the Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg match. We're going to talk all about it, man. It's your host right here, Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. You are checking out a special edition of the RCWR Show as we are covering WWE Survivor Series 2016 Fallout, coming at you live right now on Spreaker.com. For the next little bit that I'm going to be live on the air, I definitely want to hear from you all. You can interact with me a couple of ways. You can do so by hitting the Spreaker chat room right now. You can also send some tweets my way. Twitter at the RCWR Show. And, of course, Facebook as well. Facebook.com/the RCWR Show. For those of you that may be a little bit curious, Lee, I do not see the poll yet. Where's the poll? I'm actually putting up the poll right now. The question that we have for you all tonight: how did you all enjoy, I'm typing as we speak, WWE Survivor Series? And we'll say vote now. And what do you think, guys? You think we should maybe leave this up for about 7 days? I think 7 days would suffice. Yeah, I tell you what. Let's do this. Let's go for 5 days. And let's say your first option is awesome event, right? I think the second event we can say average event. Third, we could say bad event. And we'll just put in a fourth option. WTF, Brock versus Lesnar finish. That way we pretty much have it all summed up, right? And I know, of course, we're going to give you guys a big update on some very controversial stuff that had went down right before the main event match had came about tonight. Definitely kind of had me a little bit flabbergasted, a little bit shocked. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a hot second. And the tweet is, I think I got, you know what, let me do this. Let me do Brock versus Lesnar. I said Brock versus Lesnar. My God. Brock versus Goldberg. Yeah. And then we'll say Lesnar versus Goldberg. Okay, guys, that's it. I'm done putting out tweets for the night. Where do I even want to begin with this episode, man? I mean, seriously. Shall we go ahead and shall we start with somewhat of the fuck finish that we had got? I mean, look, I'm probably going to be jumping around a little bit, and I know some of you guys like your shit in particular order, man, but sometimes you just got to go with, like, what is hot, what is really popping right now. So we're definitely going to cover the whole event. Let's go right for it, man. So for the first time in 12 years, Bill Goldberg steps back into a WWE ring. Of course, within the past couple of weeks, Bill Goldberg, he's appeared on what? Maybe 2 episodes of Monday Night Raw, right? Give or take, about 2 episodes, maybe 3 max. I'm not really sure. But this was his first in-ring match in 12 years, taking on Brock Lesnar. The last time that these two guys have faced one another was at WrestleMania 20. And I actually had watched that match earlier today with my girl in anticipation of tonight's rematch. And my girl was like, hey, yeah, I never saw the first encounter between those two guys. And she was asking me, how did it go down? And I said to her, well, you know, honestly, hon, from what I can recall, it was somewhat of a shit match because of the fact that the fans were really egging it on. But it's one of those matches that I heard a lot of friends say to me over the year, because I only watched it once. Just one time did I watch it, which was initially when WrestleMania 20 had aired live, and I hadn't watched it since. And I just remember walking away feeling a little bit upset at the fact that 2 of my favorite guys in Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, they were going to be rolling out from the WWE shortly after that. Brock Lesnar trying to possibly pursue a NFL career. Of course, we know how that all had played out. Bill Goldberg just deciding he's kind of reached his pinnacle in the WWE, creatively a little bit frustrated, didn't exactly like the direction that he was going in the company. So for both of these guys, what really should have been a really great, awesome, and memorable moment for fans ended up just becoming a bitter taste in the mouths of a lot of fans, because they really felt as though both men were betraying the WWE, in particular Brock Lesnar. Here was a guy that came to the scene, a young kid. He was in a situation, I was telling Tammy this, I said, when Vince McMahon had signed Brock Lesnar was in like a multi-year deal. It was like almost kind of similar from what I've heard over the years from various sources. It was somewhat similar to what had went down with Mark Henry. Anybody knows Mark Henry, once Vince McMahon had took a look at him, he signed him to like, I think, a 15-year contract or something to that extent. Now, I don't know for certain that length is what Brock Lesnar had signed the first go round when he was in the WWE, but he did sign a very lucrative multi-year deal. This guy, I tell you what, if Cena didn't really come up, the timing and all that, I really believe Brock Lesnar would have been a force to reckon with for years upon years upon years to come. He definitely would have been the face of the company. And it would have been a very interesting story right now had he stuck around. And you think about what's going on with today's current product, how exactly would his placement be in the organization and all that. Well, going into WrestleMania 20, both of these guys taking different paths, both leaving the WWE. And the one thing that I have remembered most about that match was just the crowd really ripping into both of the guys, but really ripping into Bill Goldberg, telling him, yeah, you sold out, basically calling him a traitor and all that. I mean, it was some heavy shit. You would just have to go back and watch it for yourselves. So I decided, okay, you know what, let me load up this WrestleMania 20 match. I did like probably most people did. Hopped on the WWE Network, got my fixin'. Watched a couple of matches. I actually watched the Goldberg, Dave Bautista match. That brought back a lot of fun memories because I remember how Triple H did the whole $100,000 bounty for anybody on the WWE roster to take out Bill Goldberg because he was in his quest to reclaim his World Heavyweight title, which was awarded to him, mind you, by Eric Bischoff, who was the then general manager at the time. And that was a really good matchup right there. Then I remember I had watched also Goldberg take on Triple H for the World Heavyweight title. It was no, it wasn't the end of Raw, but it was somewhere in the middle of the card. But I do remember Kane had ended up coming out, and Goldberg pretty much had retained on a disqualification, if I'm not mistaken. So lot of good fond memories. It was nice kind of rejogging my memory again on Goldberg and everything. But we watched this match, and I gotta tell you, it actually was a decent match. It was better than the shit that we had got tonight. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys that are probably like, Lee, really? Like seriously, dude, don't tease me like that, because I've already been teased as it is by WWE tonight with this rematch. Don't tease me like that. No, I promise you, my message to you all up front, for those of you that were beyond pissed off at the finish that you all had saw tonight between Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg, and you were looking forward to some type of an actual match, not necessarily a wrestling match, but for those of you that were genuinely looking for something that lived up to the expectations as far as the hype, as far as the publicity that has been put out there over the past several weeks of this match, and you walked away from it feeling very disappointed, I highly would encourage you, after you get done checking out this show, you go on ahead, if you got the WWE Network or Daily Motion, YouTube, just go out of your way, look for Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, WrestleMania 20, their first matchup. You will enjoy that. Ignore the fans. Just get lost into the commentating. Now that I set up pretty much everything that was happening during that time capsule and everything, you understand. When you watch that match, I guarantee you will walk away from that match with a couple of thoughts. You will say, hey, that actually was pretty good. And then you'll follow that up with, the fans were kind of brutal. You know what? This match was pretty good. If there was only maybe one criticism I could have found about that first matchup, was the strong dominance that was happening for maybe the first 10 minutes of the match. It was like lock up, stalemate, okay, off the ropes, try to see if you could clothesline me flat on my back. Nope, I'm still standing here, you try. We kept seeing that. It kind of went a little bit overkill, but aside from that, it was actually a really good match. Then the other thing that you'll definitely walk away from is saying, yeah, you know what, Lee? This is better than the shit that I had got tonight. Let's talk about this, man. 12 years in the making right here, as the way WWE was dubbing this, fantasy warfare becomes reality, right? So, Bill Goldberg, looking pretty good for a guy that's about to hit 50. Has a really nice shape. One thing that and I have a pet peeve for stuff like this. I wish, and maybe they tried, maybe somebody in the back tried, maybe like a Vince McMahon or a Triple H or whoever, maybe they tried and it wasn't happening. But I really wish that somebody would have pulled Bill Goldberg to the side and say, hey, look, we want to make sure that we're really selling the hell out of this match. We want you to do us a favor. Look, you're in phenomenal shape, no doubt about it. But, if you could just do us a small little favor, go to CVS or Walgreens, Aldi's, Harris Teeter, pick yourself up a little box of Just for Men hair dye for your beard. Just kind of get the grays a little bit. Kind of dye that down a little bit. You don't need to go
with a pitch black goatee or a dark brown goatee. You know, you can kind of have a little bit of gray in there, but you know, if you can just kind of brush some of that away, it would really help us out a lot. Because you just look at his build. Me and Tammy were going back and forth about his build because we had watched what we watched earlier today with some of his matches, even some WCW stuff, and then we were looking at his build and all that tonight, now that we saw him in ring gear and all. And we both were kind of like, okay, he's done good. He looks pretty good for a guy that's 50 years old, but, you know, the body... got the body of like a mid 30-year-old person, but then when you come up to the face, it kind of has like this senior citizen. You know what it reminds me of? Here's the perfect analogy. Does anybody remember how like for the past 8 or 10 years there was that irritating fucking Bowflex commercial with the bald head guy with the shades, and he's like, I'm 49 and I'm feeling fine. I'm living life great. I'm in a rock band. Anybody remember that fucking Bowflex commercial? And it was like a bald head, little small white guy with shades, and they showed like an old picture of how he looked. And when you see the old picture of him, he actually looked as though he was probably in his early to mid 50s, but it turns out he was actually 49. And then like when he started using the Bowflex machine and all that shit, and he dropped all the weight off, he had this nice tight looking body of a 30-year-old person, of a 30-year-old guy, but he had the face of like somebody that was like maybe in their mid late 40s, possibly hitting 50. So it reminds me of that. If you remember that commercial, kudos to you, because I remember for like about 8-10 years, they kept running that commercial. And for me, it was a running gag because it's like, okay, this dude's no longer 49. It's now been like fucking 10 years. How about an update? Can we see how this guy looks now? You know, is he still pushing it? What the hell? And after a while, the commercial just finally disappeared. But when I look at Goldberg, I kind of can't help but like think of that. Because like you look at the build, you're like, hey, that's a great looking physique, you know. I mean, look, I'm not throwing stones at Goldberg or anything like that. I'm just really thinking as far as just the marketing standpoint and everything. I know WWE got their money either. Literally, they got their money either way tonight. I have a feeling a lot of fans probably, if they aren't thinking about canceling their network subscription, they freaking are probably like, okay, I'm boycotting WWE for a couple of weeks because the fuck finish I got tonight. What the hell? But aside from the hair dye thingamajigga that did not happen for Goldberg, wish it would have, great reception from the crowd, ditto reception for Brock Lesnar. Goldberg comes down there looking good. Had the security, it was the actual theme, the actual entrance. Security comes knocking on Goldberg's door. He's coming out. All that good stuff. Classic Goldberg stuff. Inhales the pyro. Everything just looks freaking phenomenal. Gets down to the ring right after Brock Lesnar makes his entrance. It's like, okay, it's on. It's on. All these weeks we've been hearing, okay, it's on. Let's do this. And we see Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. They kind of do like a nice stare down at one another. We saw Brock Lesnar immediately just charge at Goldberg as Goldberg was trying to charge Lesnar. But Lesnar got the one up on Goldberg first, as he pretty much kind of did like a running tackle takedown, if you will, that pretty much had saw Goldberg get propped in the corner. And then, like, once Lesnar felt as though he had a good advantage over Goldberg, he actually kind of backed up a little bit, kind of like, come on, old man, let me see what you got. And that just pissed the hell out of Goldberg. We saw Goldberg push Brock Lesnar right on his keister. And Lesnar's just looking at him like, all right, yeah, this is going to be fun. So we see Brock Lesnar try to get up, and wham, he is hit with a spear from Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg then goes back to the corner again, waiting for Brock Lesnar to get up. We see Paul Heyman. He is confused. He is not quite sure what the hell is going on. He's calling for Brock to watch out. Bill Goldberg's on the hunt. And at this point, you're kind of looking at this match. You're going, okay, well, this is a nice, good, explosive start. Shades in comparison to what they did at WrestleMania 20, as far as like if maybe it was going to kind of be like similar to that as far as the opening. Nice, different approach to this go round. Okay, no problem. All right, maybe at this point, Brock Lesnar is going to gather himself, roll out of the ring, regain his composure. Maybe he and Paul Heyman, they're going to try to regroup or something like that. But no, we don't see that. We see Brock Lesnar come to his feet. Goldberg, wham, once again, hits him with a spear. At this point, you're like, okay, anybody that's been a long time Bill Goldberg fan knows that usually after Goldberg does the spear, he usually calls for the damn jackhammer. Goldberg looks for the jackhammer. We're thinking that, I don't know about you guys, I'm thinking at this point, maybe Brock Lesnar is now going to do some type of a countering move, get out of that position. Maybe then he's going to now roll the hell out of the ring. No, it doesn't even happen. Okay, this was literally, I don't even think it was a 5-minute match. It might have been after you get done with the entrances and all that. This was probably maybe at most 4 minutes tops. I'd be shocked if it was a lot shorter than that, but I'm just averaging it off to be at about 4 minutes. 2 spears, 1 jackhammer, clean in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. Bill Goldberg is 2-0 over Brock Lesnar. Fans in Canada there, shocked to say the least, as this was the second night that WWE had came to us from the Air Canada Center in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. A lot of shocked faces, a lot of surprised faces, disappointment, just big shock and awe. Everybody's trying to process what the hell did they just witness. Me and Tammy were watching this, and I can't tell you, I screamed at the TV, what the hell did we just watch? And we both were expecting not a wrestling match, but we were expecting at tops. We were expecting at least maybe because the match had came on, if I'm not mistaken, at about maybe, I would say, felt like the match came on at 10:15. And then pretty much by 10:25, it was over and done with. Again, once you get past the entrances and all that, the stare down and the bell rings, it was pretty much 4 minutes, maybe a little less than that. So definitely a lot of shock, a lot of what the hell was going on. And I can't tell you, I had put a tweet out and it pretty much summed up how I basically have felt about this, quite honestly. And I'm actually trying to see if I can pull it up right now. Here it is. I said, WTF was that? That wasn't even a damn match. Tell me I did not just see that. Thanks for your money, fans. I feel for the fans that grew up on Bill Goldberg from WCW, because I have friends, let me tell you, I know of guys who just strictly watched WCW. And when WCW went out of business, they didn't even bother checking out the WWE product. And I'm sure this is probably the case for a lot of you all that have veteran friends that remember when WCW was still in operations and everything. For a lot of guys, this go round, when they heard that Bill Goldberg was back, it was like, oh, okay, well, let's see what's going on right here. I really feel for the Bill Goldberg fans. I really feel for the fans of WCW that wanted to watch this event because they heard that Bill Goldberg was coming back, and talk about it kind of like a nice reintroduction to not only see what Bill Goldberg is up to, but hey, does the guy still have it? But then also at the same time, you're also checking out the WWE product for perhaps the first time, and hopefully you're kind of walking away from it going, okay, these talents that I'm seeing on the WWE roster, not too shabby. Okay, they kind of made a new fan out of me. Maybe I'll check out the product for a little bit. But just the stupid, poor booking that was done for this match. The only thing that makes sense to me out of this match, as far as the reason why it was so short, I have a feeling that possibly two scenarios. One screams at me because of what happened with Shane McMahon in the Raw versus SmackDown match, which we'll get to in just a hot second. Or it's very well possible that this was always supposed to be the layout for the match. I couldn't help it, as I was getting ready to come on to the show, I couldn't help but made a joke, because I kind of felt like maybe, what this Goldberg Brock Lesnar match reminded me of? Does anybody remember Frank Miller's The Dark Knight? Anybody remember that? You remember when the animated 2-part movie came out? There's a deluxe edition that just has the animated movie in one take, but remember the scene where Batman takes like this pill or whatever, and he pretty much has like 10 minutes to do what he needs to do with Superman before it's lights out for him. Pretty much his heart gets stopped or something like that, but the heart, like, there was something weird that happened, some pill that he took, and basically, not to give too much away, but long story short, Batman kind of like faked his death, so to speak. And I just couldn't help but, after I saw this match play out, go, well, I guess Bill Goldberg only had like 5 minutes, maybe 7, to make his point before his heart gave out on him. Because after all that shit that he was doing leading up to get in the ring, maybe it kind of took its toll on his body and his heart and all that. But those are the two scenarios that just really kind of stick out in my mind. So I know for sure, by the time we come on the air this coming Tuesday night, we'll have a lot more information as far as like what the heck is going on. I honestly would not be too surprised if all throughout the week leading right on up to tonight's pay-per-view event, there was constant back and forth on the finish to this match. I would not be surprised if the original plan maybe had saw Brock Lesnar getting the W. I really would not be surprised if maybe Vince McMahon had really wanted for Brock Lesnar to go over, and maybe Triple H, call him Elliot Ness because he always gets his man. And, we still don't know who exactly was behind setting up things for Bill Goldberg to return in the WWE. We don't really know if Paul Levesque was the one that pretty much orchestrated all of this, but I kind of can't help but have a sixth sense, if you will, that perhaps Paul Levesque said, no, I think we need to kind of do things right by Bill Goldberg this go round. I think we need to give him the win. Lesnar will be okay. Let's give Goldberg the win. So it's just, no matter how you play it out, even if I break it down the way that I break it down to you guys, that's probably not going to pacify you all. There's probably going to be a lot of you all that's still going to be pretty damn upset at the finish that you had saw. And look, I'm not trying to defend the WWE product. I'm just presenting it to you a couple of different angles that you should probably look at it and then kind of like go from there. What's next for Brock Lesnar? What is perhaps next for Bill Goldberg? Well, let's look at it like this. As far as what's next for Bill Goldberg, I talked about it on the show earlier in the week, and I just have the strongest feeling that Bill Goldberg will be going into next year's WWE Hall of Fame. Whether or not he will be the headliner is a really big question, because remember, this coming year's WrestleMania is going to be coming to us from Florida. And as some of you all, the listeners, have pointed out, hey, this would kind of make a lot of sense to maybe try to induct Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the WWE Hall of Fame. So, which thus creates kind of like a little bit of a dilemma, which is, okay, so would Bill Goldberg really be okay with going into the same class with The Rock, and Rock is the one that's headlining? Because if you really kind of stop and think about it, you've got eventually Undertaker that's going to headline a WWE Hall of Fame when he's ready to hang it up. Rock alone is your Hall of Fame headliner. Goldberg, to his own degree, you could argue that he could be a headliner as well, because he really did help lead the way for WCW to defeat WWE Raw for those consecutive weeks there. I mean, WCW had like a hidden gem in a Bill Goldberg there that they were using right early on, but only time will tell. I mean, if it was me personally, if you ask me what I would personally like to see happen, I would love to see Bill Goldberg go in to this coming year's WWE Hall of Fame. And as part of that same class, I would also like to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in there. And I'm totally fine with The Rock being the main headliner. But I think there's that part of me that honestly hopes that age has been very kind to Bill Goldberg in the sense of maturity, and that he actually would not mind not being a headliner for the Hall of Fame ceremony. But that's just kind of the direction that I'm kind of looking at it from this standpoint. Whether or not Bill Goldberg is going to have another match, a lot of rumblings are saying that, oh, it's just going to be one match. You know, he's one and done. That's pretty much going to be it. I'm not really going to even speculate on that, but I will say this. He got a lot of love the past couple of weeks since he's returned. The fans remember him, and I know a lot of those fans is guys like me that grew up on him from back in the day, back from the Attitude Era or the Monday Night War, that, you know, appreciates a guy like him. He could probably do a little bit of something from time to time as a great nostalgia act, you know, maybe kind of make him be like a special attractions type of guy, you know, bust him out every couple of months. I don't know if that's something maybe Bill Goldberg would be seriously interested in doing, maybe working for the WWE on a part-time basis. I'm not really sure. I think he's in great shape. I think with the little bit that we saw tonight, I really can't comment. I really did not see enough. And I don't know if that maybe was by design from WWE because of what they had been seeing of Goldberg the past couple of weeks. Make no mistake, promos are there. But when you think about that jackhammer he did to Rusev, when you think about that spear that he did to Paul Heyman, it kind of follows up on what I had told you guys a couple of weeks ago, which is first impressions mean everything. And the way that Bill Goldberg had came off from that jackhammer and that spear weeks before he took on Brock Lesnar, he came off as though he really was not getting in the training. Yeah, he looks good physically, but like as far as in ring, okay, he looks like he's been working out the kinks. All right, looks pretty good. I wasn't really picking that vibe up. So I mean, honestly, in what we saw tonight, it was basically vintage fucking Goldberg when it's all said and done. And if you're a pure Goldberg fan, you appreciated that, because Goldberg was just, back in his heyday, made quick work out of his fucking opponents. So, on the other hand, you look at things from the Brock Lesnar standpoint, some could maybe make the argument that this is part of the, I guess you could say, collection that WWE is doing to Lesnar after he somewhat embarrassed them from what had went down in the UFC, perhaps. One could maybe possibly speculate, make that argument, to each its own. But Brock Lesnar is going to continue to be there. If I'm not mistaken, the contract that he had re-signed, didn't he re-sign a contract, I think, last year? he resigned. So he should, if he doesn't have one more year left, he should have 2 more years left in his contract. 'Cause I remember at the time when he resigned it, he said that he had came to terms on a 3-year deal. So Brock Lesnar is going to continue to be there. I just really have in my heart of hearts that this is all designed to validate even more of Bill Goldberg eventually going into the Hall of Fame, which I feel in my heart of hearts is definitely going to be happening next year. Just remember, you heard that here first, because I don't really see too many people talking about that online. But yeah, definitely for those of you pissed off at this match, like I said, go check out WrestleMania 20. You'll thank me later, trust me. So we were talking about Shane McMahon. Let's jump right into it. I know, I'm kind of going out of order for some of you guys, and you know what? Look, this isn't your what's the right word I'm looking for? This isn't your DVD chapter 1, then chapter 2. We'll do our best to keep it in order, but we got to go with the emotion, the flow of things. We got to come at you guys with the 1-2 punch, and trust me, there's still a lot of good stuff that we can cover in here. But let's talk about some of these other matches that came about. So we alluded to Shane McMahon, probably the most scariest thing that happened out of the entire night had to do with Team SmackDown Live, which consisted of AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and Shane McMahon with mascot James Ellsworth. They had took on the team of Raw, which consisted of Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Seth Rollins. This was a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination matchup. For this matchup, it was really good. I must admit, I enjoyed this match a lot. All of my favorite guys were in there. But it got really fucking scary, and the video is actually up on my Twitter page right now for those of you that maybe did not get a chance to see this. But if you noticed that Shane McMahon was trending, let me reassure you, it was not because, Shane McMahon did like something really cool. He did some cool spots, but there was a very scary spot that ended up having a lot of people go, what the fuck is going on here? And pretty much towards the end of this match, we had saw a scenario play out where Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, they were on their own, because it pretty much got down to those two guys representing Team Raw. And I believe on the other side, you had Randy Orton, you had Bray Wyatt, you had AJ Styles, and you had Shane McMahon. And one of the scariest things that had happened involved Shane McMahon, who, mind you, successfully did a really sweet spot from the top of the turnbuckle, and he did a pretty trademark signature flying elbow from that to the announcer's table. He had connected on, I believe it was Braun Strowman. He got, no, was it Braun? Yeah, it was Braun. He did a really nice, good flying elbow to Braun Strowman. And as the action had continued on, I remember eventually Braun Strowman had kind of came around. He was trying to get back in the ring, but James Ellsworth came from under the ring, grabbed his leg, and Braun Strowman got counted out that way. And it was a sick-ass spot that had happened afterwards, as Ellsworth, once he realized he rattled a beast, if you will, he tried to run. He really didn't do a good job at it, because you knew something was coming. You knew some type of an insane spot was coming, because it's James Ellsworth. He's basically the crash test dummy or whatever. And we saw Braun Strowman eventually catch up to him over by the ramp area, and he sent him crashing through a wooden table. Did you guys catch the other wooden table that had pizzas and some soda drinks or whatever? I'm glad that table didn't get destroyed, because I was looking at that pizza going, damn, don't mind me. When you have to watch what you eat when you have diabetes, you kind of got to be careful. So for me, I saw the boxes of pizza, and I was actually craving for fucking pizza at that point. But later on, after that cool spot that Shane McMahon did to Braun Strowman, we saw him in a position where he got to the top of the turnbuckle again, and this time he was looking for the coast to coast. And as he is just in midair, Roman Reigns out of nowhere just comes with a spear, and it just looks like Shane McMahon is fucking rocked. And me and Tammy were watching this, and I said, "Hun, he doesn't look good. His eyes look glazed like a motherfucker." And she adds to that, "Well, look at his head. His head is instantly red. It wasn't that way as he was going to the top of the turnbuckle. What the hell?" And we see the referee. The referee goes 1, 2, and he stops. The referee actually stops, and he is just legitimately like, he breaks. He's actually looking at Shane. He's kind of like grabbing him by the head, communicating with him and everything. And Roman Reigns is just kind of laying there for the cover. Finally, we see the referee. He signals for the doctors to come in and everything. And so you see this, and from the angles that WWE are showing it, and I totally get the angles that WWE were showing it, because I believe the producers, the monkeys in the back, even the commentators, I believe in their heart of hearts, they knew that something really fucked up had went down, but they did not want to speak upon it, probably because they didn't want to alarm people, and that's fine. You continue the show, all that. But from the angles that they showed, you're kind of like, something's not quite right. Either Shane didn't really protect himself when it came to that spear, and he just got the shit knocked out of him, or he fucked his head up. And we both were kind of like, you know what? This guy's got a fucking concussion, I bet you. So you go on my Twitter page right now. There is a really, really great view of a fan that was actually there in attendance, and his camera view was fucking spot on. You can see Shane McMahon do the spot as he's looking for the coast to coast, and as Roman hits that fucking spear, you can see the back of Shane's head. I mean, it oh my God, it hits the canvas and it just bounces back up. It was definitely really, really fucking serious. And I tell you what, I honestly, genuinely would not be surprised if the Brock Lesnar Bill Goldberg match possibly ended the way that it did. Because at that point, the McMahon family and everything, they just pretty much wanted for the show to be over and done with. They just wanted to focus on Shane, make sure he was okay. And I honestly would not be too surprised if they just wanted to wrap things up, break the teams up, let the production crew and the talent just pretty much wrap it up, going over to the next. Well, actually, you know what? If I'm not mistaken, I believe WWE Raw is possibly going to be coming from there tomorrow night. You know what? Let me actually type it in right now. That way we can figure out where they're going to be, because it would make a lot of sense to me, at least, that they would be at that arena for one more night. Let me see what arena it is. I'm actually typing it up right now. WWE Raw tickets. Yeah, let's do it like that. WWE, yeah, they're actually gonna be at the Air Canada Center for one more night. So yeah, at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised if they just wanted for the event to be over and done with, so they could take Shane to the hospital, meet him there, figure out what the hell is going on and everything. That really would not surprise me whatsoever. But when I saw that spot go down, it was very scary. As long as I have been watching Shane, look, he has my respect. Don't get me wrong. I've always had a soft spot for Shane. He, to me, is the McMahon that can truly throw it down. No disrespect to Vince McMahon. He's thrown it down. He's had his share of throwdowns, but, with Shane just always, to me, kind of came off like one of those type of guys. You could have a beer with somebody and talk all things wrestling. He just really comes off like a real good down to earth type of guy, a person that doesn't look past you, doesn't like look down upon you. You know what I'm saying? He just really seems like a really pleasant, easy person that you can get to know. I mean, just really stop and think about it for you all that have been watching the WWE product for a long time. If you had to pick a McMahon to have a beer with, you know, and talk wrestling, you know, I bet you nobody would pick Stephanie McMahon. I think you all would probably go with Stephanie McMahon for different reasons. You're probably hoping after a few beers she might have some hungry eyes for you or whatever. I'm quite sure you guys would probably go with Vince, but I bet you if it was just down to Vince and Shane, I bet you Shane would win the popular vote. But going forward, I just really hope that Shane rethinks about these matches, doing these matches. I mean, he really does not need to go out there and do these matches. He's got young kids. He's going to be 47 years of age come January of this year. You know, is it really worth it, man? I mean, seriously. And look, isn't that a telling tale in itself? Shane didn't climb up on some steel cage structure. Shane didn't climb up to the top of the fucking Titantron in the arena there. You know, he didn't jump and do a flying elbow from a VIP box or anything like that. This guy like fucks up from the spear. And, you know, Roman, and I know a lot of people may want to hate on Roman. Roman did his part right. I mean, if anything, you know, maybe you could kind of say, you know, Roman. No, I'm not going to even go that route. No, I'm going to stick to it. I don't feel in my heart of hearts Roman did anything wrong. I think what we legitimately had saw play out in that ring was just a fucking freakish accident. But for me, just going forward, you know, this type of stuff can happen if you're not in the ring on a consistent basis. It's one thing if you're in the ring, you're training, you know, you're working out, you're lifting weights and all that. Okay, yeah, there's that training. But to actually go in the ring and you're constantly, you know, you're taking those bumps. Yeah, that's great that you know how to do things on offense, but when it comes time for you to sell, number one, do you know how to sell those bumps? And number two, do you know how to protect yourself when you're doing those bumps? You know, when I saw his accident go down there in the ring tonight, I couldn't help but like instantly think about the brief period where I had briefly wrestled, and what pretty much was the nail in the coffin for me was very similar to what had went down with Shane. I remember there was a guy that I was wrestling, and we were putting on a really good match, and we were just yelling audibles off the fly, and one audible he put out there at me, he was like, okay, so go off the ropes, you know, put me in the clothesline, you know, stomp on me a little bit, do a mud hole stomping, and you know, pick up my body, you know, pick me up, do a DDT. I was like, okay. And anybody that is a actual trained professional wrestler knows how to properly do a damn DDT. Well, my ass, you know, I did the DDT a few times and did it well. But this go round, I did not protect the back of my head. So what ended up happening was when I did the damn DDT, you know, the DDT hurt me. And it hurt me from the standpoint of, and I don't know why, I just call it stupidity or laziness, but I thought I'd try to do something a little bit different. I thought I would try to do the DDT in a way that would make it be my own. And boy, was that a fucking mistake, because when I did the DDT, my opponent was protected. My friend, he was protected. But when I landed, the back of my head hit the canvas, just like Shane's head did in this match tonight. And I laid on the ground for like about, my God, it felt like an eternity. I thought I was laying there for 5 minutes. And true story, I could not feel my legs. I could not feel my hands. And, you know, my eyes, everything else was there. I felt a little bit confused. I was trying to gather my bearings, trying to figure out like where I was. And then like instantly I could remember very vividly. I was trying to remember my name, what year it was, you know, what am I doing right now? And then it was like, okay, let's move. And I could not move. I swear to God, I swear on my life, I could not move. And it felt like an eternity. And I was scared shitless. And I just remember I just continued to lay there. And I was just, you know, selling it. And my friend, you know, he didn't even know. And it wasn't until later on that night, a girl that I was dating at the time, I had asked her, you know, how long was I laid out there on the canvas? And she was like, I don't know. It kind of felt like maybe it was about, you know, 2 minutes or something like that. And once I told her what had happened, she was like, no. She's like, you're done wrestling. She was like, seriously. She's like, no more. And that pretty much ended my my potential wrestling career that I was trying to embark on, sadly. So, you know, when you have a freakish accident like that, you kind of take a step back and kind of go, is it really kind of worth it? Should I really be putting my body on the line like that? Especially when you kind of get a little bit older, if you will. And if this was a Shane McMahon that was maybe 15 years younger, 20 years younger, you know, I wouldn't even be bringing this up right now. But he's got these kids that's in the picture right now. He's got a beautiful wife. He really needs to think about those. So I really hope he has a speedy recovery. And I hope that as far as this rumor about him possibly taking on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, because that seems to be like what everybody's talking about right now, I really hope that match does not happen, quite honestly. They planted some seeds, but I really hope that match does not happen. Just some wishful thinking right there. So, but that match itself, as far as the winners for that match, it ended up being Team SmackDown that would win the most important matchup over Team Raw. So we told you how things pretty much had ended with Shane McMahon. EMTs, doctors, and all that had came out, and they pretty much took Shane out. Now, on a good note, Shane, he did move around. They were helping him out of the ring, and he was gingerly walking. He was being assisted. He did walk with the medical doctors to the backstage area, so that's definitely a good sign right there. It pretty much ended with a scenario where we saw Dean Ambrose, who was just in constant bickering with AJ Styles, and we had learned that at TLC's pay-per-view, which is a SmackDown pay-per-view event coming in 2 weeks, those two guys will be fighting in a TLC match for the WWE title. Meantime, and Shane McMahon tried his best to make sure that these two guys had got on the same page. And we actually saw Dean Ambrose. He got eliminated pretty early on. After a handful of minutes into the matchup, we did eventually see him get eliminated, and it was kind of a little bit of a shocker right there. But it pretty much came as a result of AJ Styles being in the perfect position where he could have saved Dean Ambrose from getting eliminated. All he had to do was go in there and break the tag, but he didn't do that. And these guys just want to tear each other apart, quite honestly. And what we ended up seeing happening later on was a case where Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, they were going to work on AJ Styles. We see Dean Ambrose. He comes in and he just starts attacking AJ Styles, and we see a bunch of security. They grab him. They're trying to separate Dean from AJ and from the rest of the action that's coming about. Meanwhile, you got Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. They kind of realize, like, hey, Dean Ambrose, he You know, he wants a piece of this guy. Let's fucking help him out. And wouldn't you know it, a Shield reunion. I'm sure a lot of you guys had probably saw this coming about. I really didn't want to marinate too much on every nook and cranny that's going to happen tonight with Survivor Series. I kind of wanted to just honestly kick back, be surprised, really try to kick back and enjoy the moment. And for me, that was a nice little spot to see, that for that brief moment, the Shield had reunited. They did their trademark triple power bomb for AJ Styles. They just destroyed AJ Styles' ass. And then eventually we saw the security come back in full circle, get Dean Ambrose up out of there. We did see AJ Styles get eliminated. It pretty much came down to Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper actually made an appearance. You know, really wasn't too much of a factor, but I tell you what, I love the closing moments of this match. That was fucking phenomenal. It was, no pun intended, it was awesome seeing at one point Roman Reigns, he tried to go for the freaking did he try to go for a spear? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Roman Reigns had tried to go for a spear, and we saw a really nice sequence come about where Randy Orton had sacrificed himself. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. Randy Orton sacrificed himself as Roman Reigns was getting ready to do that spear to him. So Randy Orton absorbs the spear, but then Bray Wyatt just comes from out of nowhere, gets Roman Reigns, puts him in the Sister Abigail, and that was pretty much the finish to the match. For those of you that's wondering, well, what happened with Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, right before that sequence, Randy Orton had actually caught Seth Rollins, who was attempting, I believe, to do a frog splash from the top rope, and we saw Randy Orton just catch Seth Rollins in midair with an RKO. And that's how it pretty much had ended up being Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton taking on Roman Reigns. And that, like I said, that was a really good finish to that matchup. Really, really into that one. I thoroughly enjoyed that matchup. I guess we can kind of go just a little bit. You know what? Well, we're kind of going backwards. Let's continue to just go backwards. So, your match before that, we had the Brian Kendrick taking on Kalisto. It was an interpromotional matchup for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. Had Kalisto won the title, the Cruiserweight division would then be transferred over to SmackDown Live. Let me tell you something, man. This was hands down the best Cruiserweight title match, just Cruiserweight match period, that I have seen since the Cruiserweights have come up on the main roster. Hands down, really, 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 this was a good match. I just am a sucker for really good in-ring psychology. I am a sucker for a really good story in the ring that's being played out. And this match had that, right down to the video package that we actually had got that set up the match. I thoroughly had enjoyed that tremendously. That was freaking insane in itself right there, because of all the promos that we've heard from Brian Kendrick making, honestly, if you think about the promos that he was making in the WWE, he was saying, some pretty out there crazy type of stuff, but it was stuff that was kind of like, all right, not too shabby. And then you look at the promos that he's been cutting as of late, you're like, yeah, that's still not really resonating, is the point that I'm making. But the video package that they had hooked up with Brian Kendrick tonight and talking about his opponent Kalisto and all that, I just couldn't help but go, WWE, you're kind of finding something here with Kendrick. And honestly, I think we're now kind of getting to that point where with some talents, sadly, you're going to need to rely on little video vignettes to try to help get that character over, and at the same time try to help get whoever that opponent is that they're facing over. And I love the video package that they did with Brian Kendrick, who basically, in the nutshell, was pretty much talking about how, his mental intellect, he's superior. He's better than everybody else because they're weak-minded and all that. And you just got to see it. You got to see it for yourself to really walk away understanding where I'm coming from when I say it was a really good video package. Yeah, it's like no different than like you notice how Brock Lesnar, the rare occasions that he has tried to say a few words in the middle of the ring, it really doesn't come off that well. But when you have him in that controlled backstage environment where you can do different takes, get the creative juices really flowing, and you can be part of that whole process. Hey, instead of me saying this, why don't I say this instead? Because this actually makes a little bit more sense as far as like what I would actually say, what I would actually do. And I think WWE definitely needs to go in that direction more with certain guys. Kendrick is definitely one of those guys because the promos that he has been trying to cut in the ring, at least in North America, it's just not clicking that well. To the point, Cruiserweight division is going over as a wet fart on the main roster. That's the honest truth. So me, honestly, I was hoping that Kalisto would become the new Cruiserweight champion, but that did not happen. This was a fantastic Cruiserweight match, to say the least. Had me respecting the hell out of Kalisto tonight. Kalisto, I tell you what, this guy really freaking brought it. And I know so many people early on, and look, I'm part of it as well. I will gladly throw myself in there, but I did try to loosen up my stance on the guy. I did refer to him many times as Rey Mysterio light, but I tell you what, the guy is really coming along. I genuinely, sincerely mean that. Kalisto, you got to watch this match. If there was one match out of tonight's Survivor Series that I could point out to you all to check out, this would be the match. Probably what was the biggest buzzkill of this match of the entire night wasn't anything that Kalisto or Brian Kendrick did. It's who got injected in this match. It was Boring Corbin. Yeah, that's what I'm going to call him from now on. Boring Corbin had actually interfered in this match, attacking Kalisto. Okay, you're thinking from the storyline continuity standpoint, okay, this kind of makes a little bit of sense because there was a match that Corbin and Kalisto had some weeks back where Corbin had injured his knee, and as a result of that, he was no longer going to be able to participate in the Survivor Series tag match with SmackDown versus Raw. So how does he release that frustration? Well, he decides he wants to take it out on Kalisto. Daniel Bryan would catch up with Boring Corbin later on, pretty much right after the events that transpired in that matchup, as we actually saw Brian Kendrick retain his title, picked up the victory via DQ, mind you. We see Daniel Bryan say, hey, why the hell did you do that? You just cost us the Cruiserweight division. What the hell? Corbin saying, look, we don't need any more small peasants around here. One peasant is enough. We don't need any more of those peasants here. Those small fries here. Daniel Bryan just pretty much tells Corbin, I'll take care of you. I'll talk to you on Tuesday. For now, you're out of here. Get out of the arena. So that pretty much eliminated Corbin. I really was not feeling that whatsoever, guys. That just was, for me, that was buzzkill. It was kind of like you meet a girl and she takes you back to her house, and you notice how she has a nice good behind, and she's got a nice rack up top. And she tells you to get comfortable, make yourself something to drink, and she's going to go slip into something a little bit more comfortable. And then when she comes out, it's kind of like I'm going to get you sucker with Damon Wayans or whatever. You're kind of like, what the fuck? Like, hey, where'd your chest go? Oh, that was just a push-up bra. Oh, Damn, where'd your butt go? Oh, that was just padding, and it was kind of like, you get like this really good match between Kalisto and freaking Brian Kendrick, and you're like, oh wow, this is like, and then Corbin just comes in there, and I just really, I really hope that Kalisto can get away from Corbin, because I honestly feel that Kalisto is probably going to be seen in a little bit of a different light from the fans that watch Survivor Series tonight. They're probably going, this little guy's got a lot of great potential. Yeah, you know what? Maybe he should be going over to the Cruiserweight division. Maybe he should be going to the 205 and all that. Only time will tell if that'll happen. For those of you that want to maybe jump out there, could he be the next Rey Mysterio? Could he be the next world champion? I don't know, guys. Can we just take it one step at a time? I think first things first. This program with Boring Corbin, at this point, I'm kind of thinking that maybe this feud is supposed to, like, if anything, help Corbin more than it is supposed to possibly help Kalisto. Because if anybody really needs the help right now, it's freaking Corbin. But I tell you what, I will take Boring Corbin any day over the Drifter. That's just me. That is just me. Couple of more matches we got to talk about here. We're just blazing through these matches, and we're doing good, man. We're going to be done probably in about the next 10 minutes. I said I wanted to do an hour-long show. We got about maybe an hour 5 right now. So let's see if we can wrap this up in about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes tops. Let's see. Team Raw. What was that? 10-on-10 traditional Survivor Series tag team elimination match. Your Team Raw, you had New Day, Big E, Kofi Kingston, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Sheamus, Cesaro, Enzo Amore, Big Cass, Shining Shits, Xavier Woods being the mascot there, ringside. They defeated Team SmackDown, Heath Slater, Rhino, Hype Bros, American Alpha, Usos, Breezango. It was good. It was good. I love the fact that, quite honestly, when it was all said and done, I love the fact that Cesaro and Sheamus were the ones that pretty much had won for Team Raw. I love that, because as I was just kind of going into watching this matchup, one of the main things I was thinking was who could really benefit the most from Team Raw and picking up the victory. And I also kind of looked at who could maybe look at things from, hey, this is a good rub off from the SmackDown standpoint. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe when I was offering predictions, I believe I had said Raw is who I was going with for the tag team elimination match. And it didn't really dawn on me until I started to really get into this match. Okay, well, who could really benefit the most? And Sheamus, Cesaro really jumped out at me. I don't know if they will be the ones to dethrone New Day. I still feel that perhaps Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson may be the ones that's going to take those titles off of New Day. I'm still holding out for it. I know I've been saying that for a couple of months now, but I'm still holding out for it. To me, it just kind of makes a little bit more sense to perhaps see Cesaro and Sheamus take the tag belts off of a Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. I mean, make no mistake about it, whether you guys like it or not, New Day is going to be holding on to those tag team titles at least until they get ready to break Demolition's record. And then after that, they'll probably drop it shortly afterwards. But when I was looking at this particular matchup, for me, the main story was what tag team will benefit most that really needs this in order to kind of like propel them a little bit to getting one step closer for a shot at tag title gold. And that just really kind of, stands out to me right now is those two guys. Their chemistry, man, ever since they got put together, really been coming off pretty good. Miz defeated Sami Zayn in a promotional match for the WWE Intercontinental title. This was a good matchup, but quite freaking honestly, I did not like the finish to this. If there's one thing I can't stand, is whenever some type of a WWE event happens in Canada, we always have to be freaking reminded of the Montreal Screwjob. Point being, closing moments of this match, it looks as though Miz is how did this match play out? Didn't Miz get Sami Zayn in a sharpshooter or some shit? Something stupid had went down in the closing moments of this match, and we had heard the bell ring. And you're kind of going, wait a minute, why is the bell ringing? Wait, who rung the bell? And then we look over and we see Maurice is the one that's over by the timekeeper, and she's ringing the bell. And the referee's kind of like, hey, I didn't call for the bell. What are you doing over there? And you're kind of like, yeah, I smell that Bret Hart screw job. Let's see how this plays out. So Sami, yeah, it's coming back to me now. Basically what happened was Sami Zayn, he had reversed a hold on the Miz, but it ended up getting broken up. Miz would then take control of the match. Did Daniel Bryan's trademark kicks, kind of mocking him a little bit. Fans were eating it up. Miz misses with a roundhouse kick. Sami applies the figure 4 on the Miz. Miz manages to go for the rope, but Sami pulls him back in, and then that's when the bell had rung from out of nowhere, and Sami started celebrating. He thought that for sure he was the new Intercontinental Champion. Miz took advantage of the distraction, rolled up Sami Zayn for the 1, 2, 3, and he retains the Intercontinental title that way. So, for me personally, it was a decent match. But my freaking God, do we have to constantly dig up the Montreal screw job? And please don't tell me it's a Canada thing. And I honestly, I just think it's been exploited so many times throughout the years. It makes no sense. Now, to somebody that never really has watched the WWE product before, they haven't really been watching it that long, then for them it's kind of like, that was kind of interesting, but for the fans that have seen it all, been through it all, it's kind of like, okay, that's so cliche. It's like, must you do that every time you go to Canada? Come on, man. So that was just really a buzzkill for me. Good matchup, but that was a serious buzzkill. So if you're kind of keeping track right now, really, the 2 true matches that was really good of the night was your Brian Kendrick taking on Kalisto, and your Team Raw taking on Team SmackDown 10-on-10 Survivor Series tag match, man. The girls, they tore it up pretty good. 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match. Team Raw, which consisted of Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax with Dana Brooke. They defeated Team SmackDown Live's Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Naomi, and Natalya. Yeah, Natalya. Some of you are probably going, what happened with Nikki Bella? Well, Nikki Bella's music played. We didn't see Homegirl. A lot of folks wondering what the hell was going on. We see some stuff from backstage. We see Nikki Bella is on the floor, favoring her back of her head. We see doctors approach, and Daniel Bryan's right there trying to figure out what the heck had happened. Nikki reveals that somebody had attacked her from behind. She's not sure who, and doctors say, hey, look, she's in no condition right now to compete. Natalya, conveniently right there, saying to Daniel Bryan, hey, look, I'm only supposed to be training these girls. I was just supposed to be their coach, but we're at a serious disadvantage right now. It's got to be 5-on-5. We can't have there be a handicap match. And Daniel Bryan's like, yeah, you're right. Why don't you go out there, hold it down, go represent, take her spot. So, you kind of see this a mile away. You know exactly how this is playing out. And you know what? kudos to WWE, because I think this was their intent all along. I know a lot of fans were kind of like ruffled that Natalya wasn't going to be involved in this, given that she is from Canada and everything. So I think it was a really good spot that they had in, and trying to weave their way into getting Natalya in there, even though the intention was always to get her involved in there. So I thought all the girls had represented. I thought they did fairly well during this matchup. Everybody was pretty impressive to me. There wasn't really anything that jumped out at me significantly that was kind of like, that was kind of odd. I love the fact that once the match was won, because ultimately it was Charlotte Flair and Bayley, if I'm not mistaken, that pretty much were the two sole members of Raw that would end up winning it for their team. I love the fact that after it was announced that Team Raw won, Charlotte, true heel fashion, just wham, starts attacking Bayley. I thought that was a great freaking spot that we had saw. There was also a brief spot where we had saw somewhat of a reunion of the Four Horsewomen. Love that spot as well. Let's see. There were two pre-show matches. Kane had defeated Luke Harper. I got nothing to say about that matchup. It's okay. Noam Dar, Rich Swann, TJ Perkins, they defeated Arya Daivari, Drew Gulak, and Tony Nese. It was a 6-man tag team match. That was your first pre-show match. Me personally, what can I say? I've been seeing this same type of fucking match for the past several weeks now. It comes off to me like maybe we need an injection of more cruiserweights, to the point that maybe we can kind of like alternate on the cruiserweights, because we're seeing like the same guys face each other. So, I can't really be too excited about this 205 series that's going to be coming in about 1 week, at least not until I see exactly how this 205 is going to play out, and if it's going to expand even more, where there's going to be other folks that's going to be showing up to participate in the series as well, and maybe eventually we'll see them on the Raw roster as well. But I tell you what, I'm going to be paying attention to this 205 show very closely. I was really hoping that the cruiserweights would go over to SmackDown, for the simple fact of it just feels like it's not going well on Raw. And it just really comes off to me as if creatively they'll have a little bit more of a free roam platform if it were to go to SmackDown. And this is despite the fact that SmackDown is now live. It just seems like it's a little bit more looser on SmackDown. SmackDown, just say what you will, Raw can get the ratings, they can have the higher viewership, but SmackDown, week in, week out, very seldom have I watched an episode of SmackDown since it's moved to live that it's been boring, that it sucked. So, for me, I was really hoping that the cruiserweights would come over there, not to mention you'd have Mauro Ranallo, and it makes all the sense in the world, because, you do the 205 live. You could do it Tuesday nights. You can pretty much do your thing with SmackDown, and then you could go right to Mauro Ranallo and Corey Graves. And that probably is still going to be the case, but I'm just thinking solely from the sole purpose of, hey, look, we don't have to worry about the cruiserweights on Raw, because they're on SmackDown. They're kind of helping out, but I just really hope that going forward, the powers that be for the Raw side of things, and it definitely starts at the top with Vince McMahon, let Triple H and family have a little bit more free roam. Give them more of that platform to really let loose on the cruiserweights. I think with what we had saw with Kendrick and Kalisto tonight is a testament to like how the cruiserweights should be when we see them on main WWE program. That should be your bullet point. That should be your bookmark. And basically, this is what we need to live by. What these guys did tonight, that's the level we need to come to, and better. And until we can see that come about on the flagship show, Raw, I just right now, I don't have too much confidence in this. It just really seems like an experiment that has been going on for what? Almost, see, it premiered in September. So it's almost been around for 3 months. And it's still not resonating with fans. I got to give the Canadian crowd a lot of props, though, man. All those cruiserweights that came out, they recognized them. They showed them a lot of love. They came off as, I don't want to say educated, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm disrespecting them. But, they came off like knowledgeable. I think that's the better word. They really came off like knowledgeable fans that make the investment to check out the network for all types of cool shows that's on, other than for the main pay-per-view shows. They appreciate all of those guys from the cruiserweight division that they saw tonight. Even TJ Perkins got a little bit of a nice reception from the crowd. There was even a couple of chants for him, believe it or not. But overall, out of pretty much 8 matches that we had got, if we take the 2 off, that was pretty much pre-show, we pretty much had got 6 matches. Out of those 6 matches, there honestly was only, for me personally, there was only 2 matches that I enjoyed thoroughly. Brian Kendrick Kalisto, Team Raw taking on SmackDown. I will give a honorable mention to Miz taking on Sami Zayn, despite the stupid finish. But other than that, can I give one more honorable mention? Yeah, let me give one more honorable mention. SmackDown versus Raw, the 5-on-5 for the guys. Yeah, that was okay too. But if I'm going for just my top 3 out of the 6 matches, Kendrick, Kalisto. Kendrick, Kalisto, Raw versus SmackDown, guys on guys. And I'll say Miz taking on Sami Zayn. So, 3 out of the 6. For me, it was an average pay-per-view. I think the real high, the real buzz for this weekend definitely goes to the NXT TakeOver Ontario special. That was a fantastic event. I'm not ending the show just yet. I am going to be taking a look at the comments that I see in the chat here. See what's going on. Controversy indeed, Razor. Controversy. This will keep the fans talking for months. Lesnar's about the money. Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's see. Paul, I like the matches, but not the last one. We should respect the opinion of others. Let's see. Shout out to Joe. See what we got on the Twitter poll here. It's a Twitter poll we had put out. Let's see. Yeah, that 10 count was dominating. I will admit that, Razor. That 10 count was dominating all throughout the night. Ty Dillinger definitely had dominated tonight, man. Fucking insane. See. Let's go to the Twitter poll one last time and let's see what's going on here. Twitter poll. Where's my Twitter poll? There we go. Twitter poll. One Twitter poll we put out there. Who do you all think would win the Goldberg Brock Lesnar match? Final tally, right before the main event match. This was our final tally. 5% of you felt that it was going to be a draw or a double DQ. 23% of you felt that Shane McMahon was perhaps going to somehow screw Brock Lesnar. And we have a tie for 36%. Yeah, we have a tie. 36% of you felt that Goldberg was going to win. 36% of you felt that Lesnar was going to win. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. That is the first time we ever had a tie for our final poll. And big shout out to the over 130 votes that we had got from you guys for the main event poll that we put out right before the show. You can cast your vote on this poll right now as it is still white hot. 4 days left to vote. Again, we got 130 votes that's coming in right now. We asked you, what did you think of tonight's WWE Survivor Series? 11% of you felt that it was a bad event. 12% of you felt that it was an average event. 34% of you thought it was an awesome event. And right now, edging it out, 43% of you said WTF, Brock versus Lesnar finish. Obviously, that kind of upset, surprised, shocked, stunned. And I agree with Titus. Titus saying stunned. Brother, yeah, I'm with you, Titus. I'm with you. Words cannot describe what we had saw tonight. I mean, that was literally thank you for your money. You know, I mean, seriously. That was just, you know, thanks for coming. Thanks for paying. You know, have a safe trip home. We'll see you back here for Raw in about less than 24 hours. I mean, seriously, man. I can't wait to check out some of my friends that tear it up on some of their respective shows and just, you know, get their take on this. But this was a very interesting pay-per-view. Let me tell you. Let me put it to you this way. For me, God, if you ask me straight up if this pay-per-view passed or failed, I'm gonna say barely this pay-per-view passed. And I do mean barely it passed. I just really feel that it didn't quite live up to the expectations. I mean, I told you the matches. I mean, to basically hear that 3 out of the 6 matches. So basically, you know, and I think if we were to poll everybody again and be like, what did you think about the matches? I'm pretty sure a majority of fans would be like, only half the card was good. And then that's the problem. That is the problem. And that's just a very interesting and telling tale, because every single time we get these takeover events, top to bottom, the card's on point. Shows might be crap. The weekly shows might be crap, might be hit and miss. But I tell you what, every time they do these takeovers, those shows are always on point. So WWE has a lot of work ahead of itself. Let's hope that with this TLC pay-per-view event that's going to be coming in about 2 weeks, let's hope that maybe they can kind of build something off of what went down here. And I tell you what, for a first ever Raw taking on SmackDown at Survivor Series, you know, under the Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon regimes and all that, first time that they're going at it, sibling versus sibling, you know, this was weak. This was a very weak effort. But as always, I appreciate the men and women that laced up those boots, got in that ring, put it out there, all in a good name of entertainment. Definitely a speedy recovery to my man, Shane McMahon. Take all the time in the world. Don't even worry about the next match, brother. And I want to continue to hear from you guys. So make sure you, if you have not done so already, cast your vote on that poll. I'm going to make sure that I pin that poll to the very top via Twitter so that you all can catch that and continue to cast in your vote. And make sure you give me a follow on Twitter as well. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Vine, coming soon to Twitch. I'm at the RCWR Show. Your next edition of the RCWR Show, by the way, is going to be coming at you this Tuesday night, November 22nd at 10 p.m. Eastern, live right here on Spreaker.com. Of course, if you can't catch it live, it'll be available for you all to listen to on the downloads. And in the meantime, my friends, that's going to do it. Special shout out to our RCWR Show sponsor, Mr. Dave Rogers. Go check out his new album, Love Notions number 9. Available now on Spotify, Google Play Music, iTunes, SoundCloud, my man Dave Rogers. Love Notions #9. See, a couple of our listeners had appreciated that album. Some listened to a couple of tracks. All right, love that. That's what I like to see and hear, man. So keep it up, represent, because with the great contribution that Mr. Dave Rogers made to our show, we're able to continue to keep our show free for you all to enjoy. Leave those ratings, leave those reviews all throughout social media. Helps others discover the show with more ease. And click on that little heart icon, that little like icon, man. Get it up, man. You know, people are going to be looking for this Talk of Survivor Series, man. So click on that like, click on that little heart that you guys are seeing. And yeah, we'll do this for you guys one more time this coming Tuesday before the Thanksgiving holiday. I want all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. See you next go round. Take care.